Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's AARP Telephone Town Hall. I'm Beth Finkel, and I'm the State Director for AARP New York. Today's conversation centers on what's happening with your Social Security and supporting family caregivers, issues that help millions and millions of Americans as they age. These issues matter to all of us, and we're thrilled to have you on the line. Today, we're going to be joined by your Member of Congress, United States Representative Nicole Malliotakis, as well as AARP's own Government Affairs Director and Social Security Policy Guru, Elisa Walker, to talk about protecting Social Security and supporting family caregivers. And we're going to answer your questions live. This is an interactive event. So at any time, if you would like to ask a question of our guests about protecting Social Security or supporting family caregivers, just press *3 on your telephone keypad to be connected with an AARP staff member who will get your question into the queue so you can ask it live. Again, you just hit *3. And remember, this is like a radio call-in talk show. So just hit *3 and we'll get you in that queue for a live question. So we're going to be focused today, as I mentioned before, on family caregivers. And that's because this is such a major and, as we all know, such a personal issue for many of us. Over 48 million Americans, including 4 million right here in New York, are unpaid family caregivers. Their sons, their daughters, their spouses, and their friends, providing care for loved ones at home and saving taxpayers billions. Yet most do it without any financial help. Family caregivers spend on the average $7,200 a year out of pocket on home care, transportation services, assisted devices, and so much more. Many reduce their own work hours or quit their own jobs so that they can do this care for a loved one. That's why AARP is fighting for the Credit for Caring Act. This bipartisan bill would create a federal tax credit of up to $5,000 to put money back into the pockets of eligible working family caregivers. The Credit for Caring Act would help working family caregivers offset the cost of so many typical caregiving expenses, such as home care aid, adult day services, home modification, assisted technology, respite care, transportation, or other supports that help caregivers and their aging loved ones. And of course, another huge, huge priority for AARP and our members, and really all older New Yorkers, is Social Security. Social Security is your money. You've earned it, we've earned it by working hard and paying into it. This year, Social Security turned 90 years old. It's more than just a milestone. It's a reminder that Social Security remains a lifeline that impacts every older American, allowing them to live a better and more fulfilling life in retirement. As a matter of fact, roughly 1 in 5 New York seniors rely on Social Security for almost all of their income. And I'm sure that many of you on this call right now rely on Social Security or know someone who does. So before I bring on our next guest, Representative Nicole Malliotakis. First, I'm going to introduce AARP's own Social Security guru. Before I do that, I just want to give you some late-breaking news. We're quite excited here at AARP because thanks to the sponsorship of Congressmember Malliotakis, 2 bills passed the House last night to help caregivers improve their services that they're getting, to help Social Security recipients when they're calling to get help from the Social Security Administration. So we're very excited about these 2 bills being passed, and we're going to hear more about that, both from AARP Government Affairs Director Elisa Walker, who's going to talk more about this, and then we're going to follow up right away with the Congressmember who I know we're also anxious to talk to and thank for the sponsorship of these two bills. So, Elisa, would you like to say hello to our audience and say a few words about AARP's fight to protect Social Security?
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Beth, for having me on, and thanks to everyone for joining today. We want to make sure that Congress knows just how important Social Security is to Americans all across the country, for all of you. And so on that note, I want to start by thanking Representative Malliotakis for joining us today and for her leadership on Social Security here in D.C. as well as in New York, of course. AARP is a big supporter of her senior bonus deduction that was enacted earlier this year, which will reduce tax burdens for millions of seniors. And then just last night, as Beth mentioned, the House of Representatives passed two of Representative Malliotakis' bills that we've endorsed. The first one is called the Improving Social Security's Service to Victims of Identity Theft Act, and it would streamline how SSA assists people whose Social Security number has been stolen or misused if they call to get help from SSA. And the second one, called the Social Security Child Protection Act, would require SSA to issue new Social Security numbers to kids if their Social Security card was stolen from the mail. So again, we're very grateful to Representative Malliotakis for her leadership on all of these issues. We also support a third bill that passed the House last night, which would clarify the terminology Social Security uses to refer to different claiming ages, basically to help seniors be able to make more informed choices about when to claim their benefits. So all of these bills move to the Senate next. We will keep pushing to see them enacted into law. And then stepping back a little bit from these specific bills, for a long time, we've been working with members of Congress on both sides of the aisle to protect Social Security and also to strengthen Social Security's customer service. So I'll mention just a couple of examples from earlier this year, as well as other Social Security updates from DC. And perhaps the biggest one for most folks is the COLA, which will be a 2.8% increase starting with December benefits that you'll receive in January. And we know every COLA announcement, which is, of course, the cost of living adjustment, we know this is a really big deal for lots of people because for most seniors, Social Security is the only source of inflation-protected income in retirement. A little bit earlier this year, in August, we celebrated Social Security's 90th anniversary because for 90 years, Social Security has been, I would say, really transforming retirement and aging by providing a guaranteed payment that we've all earned, that we know we can count on. Never missed a check. And so at AARP, we held more than 600 events all around the country to celebrate this legacy. And, we're not just looking backwards, but also looking forwards at Social Security's ongoing importance because we know it's critically important as the foundation of retirement security for millions of Americans, as well as for people with disabilities, even for children if they've lost a family breadwinner. A little bit earlier in the year, we fought back twice when the Social Security Administration proposed to create some new restrictions on phone service, which could have forced millions of seniors to have to go in person to field offices in order to just apply for benefits or do other basic tasks that they can currently do by phone. So we fought back. Our members sent over 2 million emails to Congress. And to its credit, both times SSA listened to the concerns of older Americans and reversed their proposed changes. So we will continue to fight for all of you and for appropriate customer service from SSA. Now, for many years, SSA has been serving more and more people, including the baby boomers, while being chronically underfunded and understaffed. And so at AARP, we have long fought for adequate funding for the agency because it's just not possible for them to keep doing more with less. And we have seen widespread reports of long wait times by phone or often weeks-long delays to get an appointment to go in person to a field office. Now, right now, we have a relatively new Social Security Commissioner as of late spring. And so we're looking forward to working with SSA to ensure that everyone can get timely and accurate services as well as answers to all of your questions. So Beth, I will stop there. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We're so happy to have you here today. And I guess I want to remind everybody right away that if you want to call into this and ask a good question of your Congress member or of Elisa, anything on Social Security and caregiving, all you need to do is hit *3 on your telephone keypad at any time. Again, that's *3 on your telephone keypad, and you'll be put in the queue to ask your question of your Congress member. So without further ado, I really want to introduce and welcome, thrilled to do so, your member of Congress, Representative Nicole Malliotakis. Congressmember Malliotakis represents the people of District New York 11 in Congress, including all of Staten Island, yay, and parts of Brooklyn. In Washington, she's working on important issues like fighting for the financial security of older New Yorkers and supporting family caregivers as they help their loved ones continue to live with dignity and respect. So thank you for being with us today, Representative Malliotakis. Would you like to say hello to our audience?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's AARP Teletown Hall on Social Security and Caregiving. And I appreciate you all tuning in to hear directly from me on what's happening here in Washington and how it affects you. I want to thank Beth Finkel, AARP's New York State Director, and their Government Affairs Director, Alyssa Walker, for joining this morning. In our district, we have more than 135,000 individuals that receive Social Security benefits, including my elderly parents, by the way. And the average retiree monthly benefit totals over $1,900, resulting in $246 million of monthly payments going to seniors and disabled individuals in Brooklyn and Staten Island in New York's 11th district. This is why protecting and strengthening Social Security, it's a benefit that you paid for your entire life, and it is a top priority for me in Congress. First, I want to speak to you about some of the significant accomplishments for seniors we were able to achieve this year in our Working Families Tax Cut Act, sometimes known as the Big Beautiful Bill, that was passed over the summer. One of the most significant things was the provision that, the short term of it was a no tax on Social Security. But this was incredibly important. I have been fighting for this for 2 years, well before it became a part of President Trump's campaign platform. We couldn't change Social Security law directly in this bill because there are certain rules surrounding the reconciliation process that we used. But what we were able to do is provide a new tax deduction so that when seniors do their taxes in 2026, for this year, 2025, 88% of the seniors across America, which is 51 million people, will receive the money that they paid in Social Security taxes back. This was my legislation that I drafted as a member of the House Ways and Means Committee. And I was so happy when we got it in the final package because this is going to provide a significant savings for seniors. Those who are 65 and older, right? $6,000 deduction for individuals earning up to $75,000. And it's doubled if you're married. So it would be a $12,000 deduction for married seniors with a combined income of up to $150,000. So this is huge. And like I said, 88% of seniors across the country will receive back whatever they pay in Social Security, and that is a huge win. I'm very proud of that. Also, because we live in New York, I fought very hard for the state and local tax deduction. So in addition to making the lower tax rates that were enacted in 2017 permanent for you and your families, I also fought very hard to get a SALT deduction increase. So now we delivered targeted relief by quadrupling the SALT deduction, which that means if you are a household with income of less than $500,000, which the vast majority, about 98% of our district is, you will be able to deduct your state and local taxes from your federal, which means you will be paying less in federal taxes. You won't be double taxed. And that deduction now goes up to $40,000. So really the seniors who are the homeowners or seniors that are still working, they're the biggest winners in this middle-class tax cut package that we passed earlier this year. Now, we've also we accomplished all of this without impacting Social Security benefits or Medicare benefits. I think that's incredibly important. We also protected Medicaid for our most vulnerable population, including our seniors, and we strengthened Social Security benefits and customer service for our seniors, which is also a big item for me. There were many times where people would call us. There was very long wait times, either to get an appointment or if they were calling by phone. Those wait times have reduced by roughly 25%, and I've worked very closely with the new Commissioner of Social Security, Frank Bisignano, who happens to be from Brooklyn, by the way, to outline some of the concerns I had with the customer service. And I had to make sure that they were not going to reduce the number of employees for customer service. I wrote a public letter with 14 of my colleagues outlining any concerns about closing field offices. We're very happy that our field offices remain open and serving the community. And I was the first district that the commissioner visited as the head of Social Security. I'm very proud because we pushed for that, because Social Security is a priority of mine. He knows that. And so they came to visit us in August. And as I said, we've made significant inroads in both reducing customer service wait times and decreasing the disability backlog. One of the other things we did, which affects mostly civil service workers, retirees like police officers and firefighters and teachers, is the Social Security Fairness Act legislation. This basically eliminated the windfall elimination provision. So people who received pensions were having difficulty getting their Social Security full payments. And in our district alone, there are about 1,500 individuals that have received increased Social Security benefits thanks to this law. About $7.4 million in additional benefits that are coming to our district because of this law that I was proud to co-sponsor. Now, while we've accomplished a lot for our seniors in the district, there's still a lot of work to be done, especially for caregivers of our seniors. And I'm proud to support the Credit for Caring Act and the Alleviating Barriers for Caregivers Act, which are both pieces of legislation that increase access and affordability for senior caregivers in New York. Currently in New York, there are 26% of adults, which more than 4 million people who are family caregivers, and we need to continue supporting them, and these are my next objectives here in trying to get these two bills passed now that we got a lot of the other things that were on our list accomplished. But I also want to say that in the district, my office in Brooklyn and Staten Island, we're here to assist constituents. We specifically work on thousands of cases a year. We've resolved this year 3,500 cases for constituents, and we've returned $7 million from different federal agencies that were owed to constituents, and they had been fighting for it and fighting red tape and bureaucracy. We get involved. We have a good success rate. Social Security alone, we were able to get back $1.8 million that our constituents were entitled to. And this could be anything from back payments that you might be owed, restoring or reinstating benefits. You'd be surprised how many constituents somehow Social Security thinks that they're deceased. We have to go back and fix the records, contacting Social Security to correct these clerical errors. Just last week, we were able to help somebody who had 2 decades worth of Social Security benefits that they were owed, but they never received it because there was a problem with their initial birth certificate. And we were able to get all the records, work with Social Security to verify their identity, get all the other government documents, and now they're receiving their Social Security. So please don't hesitate to call my office. We have very dedicated individuals on our staff that understand how important constituent services is, and we want to be able to help you as well. So with that, I'll turn it back over and happy to take some questions at this time.
That is great. Thank you so much. Congressmember, I wonder if you want to give folks that phone number for your office in case they'd like to jot it down.
Sure. If you're in Staten Island, the office is 718-568-2870. 718-568-2870. And if you are in Brooklyn, our office, which is on 3rd Avenue and 77th Street, that is 718-306-1620. 718-306-1620.
Great. And so we're going to go to questions in just a moment. So this is a reminder to all of you. If you want to ask a question of your representative, all you need to do is hit *3 on your keypad, *3 on your telephone keypad, and that will put you into the queue to ask your question of your representative, Nicole Malliotakis. So, as you know, AARP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, and AARP has worked with every administration and every Congress to advance the well-being of all older Americans. AARP is in your corner, and we are fighting for you for issues that matter, including protecting your hard-earned Social Security and achieving common-sense solutions that will help New York's unpaid family caregiver save time and money. And as a reminder to our audience, one more time, this is an interactive event. We're like a radio call-in show, so all you need to do is press *3 on your keypad at any time during this call. We'll go to the audience questions in a minute, but first, we've got one or two of our own for your member of Congress. So let's get started. Representative Malliotakis, you fought for caregivers in a number of ways in Congress, including co-sponsoring legislation to provide caregivers some financial relief, like the Credit for Caring Act that was mentioned earlier, as well as the Alleviating Barriers for Caregivers, or ABC Act, to help break down government red tape for caregivers. So I know you recognize the stress and financial strain caregivers can present. From all of us at AARP, we want to thank you for your leadership on these important efforts. Do you believe the current Congress can pass the Credit for Caring Act and help provide a little financial relief for caregivers?
So I'm very hopeful. I think we've made a lot of progress this year. I have consistently been advocating for seniors and trying to bring their issues to the forefront. We have a vast number of members who are co-sponsoring this legislation, both Republicans and Democrats, so it is bipartisan, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do it. I think there may potentially be another tax cut package for working families and seniors that comes forward within the next year, and we're hoping that we can get it in there. Again, my priority for this Congress was to make sure we got that added deduction for seniors, because I felt it was very unfair that seniors who are being taxed on their Social Security, and they've paid into this program, they're entitled to this money, and now they receive it, and obviously it's very difficult to live on Social Security alone, and making sure we did not tax it, or you could receive the money back when you file your taxes, it was critical to me. So that was, I think, the biggest thing. In fact, the way that came about was my father said, how come I have to pay taxes on Social Security? And that was about 2 or 3 years ago. When I joined this committee, it was my number one priority. So now that we've gotten that taken care of, and seniors filing in 2026 will, for the most part, get their Social Security income back if they are of income of less than $75,000 or $150,000 if married. We can move forward now to this additional tax credit for caregivers, which would allow them any expenses related to the caregiving of a loved one would be deductible. And so I'm hopeful about it. We still have a lot of work to do here, and we have to find the proper vehicle to get it done, and offsets to offset the loss of income from that tax. So we need to have some still more discussions on it, but I'm cautiously optimistic that we will build on our success of this year and be able to provide more support for our caregivers and loved ones.
Thank you so much. You know, I know you touched on Social Security already, and I can remember 3 years ago when we talked, and the first thing on your mind was Social Security and the tax on Social Security, and here we are right now with that great achievement already in place. So thank you again for that. I know you touched on Social Security already. Is there anything else that you want to tell our audience on Social Security before we go to the live questions next? And just a reminder one more time, just hit *3 on your keypad. That's *3. So thank you, Representative. Do you want to add anything more on Social Security?
I do want to add one other thing that I am working on, and I've been, and you would need to change the Social Security law to reflect this, which is why it's difficult. But back in the 80s, in fact, it's been 4 decades since the income eligibility for tax exemption was set by Ronald Reagan, and it was $25,000 and $32,000. So what I mean by that is, if you have a combined income of less than $25,000, you pay no tax on your Social Security. $32,000 if you are married. So that has not been changed in 4 decades, my entire lifetime, and it was never indexed to inflation. So what happens is it's a very small income level that is tax exempt, which is why this bonus deduction was so critical. But what I would ideally like to see, and I have legislation to do this, is increase those threshold amounts, at least doubling it, so more of Social Security income is automatically tax-free. So they don't tax you to begin with, right? So that ideal would be an ideal solution. I've discussed this with President Trump. When we discussed it, he agrees it needs to be addressed, and I'm hopeful that we can get it done. But that is why we did the deduction, because the vehicle in which we passed the Working Families Tax Cut does not allow you to change Social Security law. And there's reasons for that, right? We want to protect Social Security. We don't want politicians going in there and changing laws and changing benefits. But inadvertently, because of that restriction, we are now in this situation where this has not been modernized in 4 decades. So we want to increase that amount that could be tax exempt from the get-go. And again, I have legislation to do that with Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, and we're going to continue to advocate for that solution. And I also think, if you want to talk about other things, we want to see, right now there is a Social Security is taxed up to $184,000, meaning your income level. So people who are working today, they pay Social Security tax up to $184,500. And as we look toward 2033, with the issue of insolvency and making sure the money is going to be there to continue to pay these benefits, we got to look at potentially raising that, right? Making sure higher income earners are paying more tax on their income. So again, this is a big debate in Washington right now, but when you have people who are making millions and maybe even billions of dollars and they're only paying tax on their first $184,000 in income towards Social Security, we have to make some really, I think, big decisions to make sure that we preserve this program for all of you and for the future.
Thank you so much, Representative. Okay, enough questions from me. I think it's time that we go to the phones and we hear what our audience wants to ask. And for our first question, we are going to go to Danny in Staten Island. So, Danny, are you there?
Yes, good morning, dear. Good morning, Malliotakis. Let me tell you something. First of all, I voted for you, and I always loved you. I'm a native Staten Islander. Well, not really. I'm transplant from Brooklyn. Let me shut up. But I know Greek people because when I was a kid, every deli, every restaurant, delicatessen, with the proper terminology, was Greek, and these people just are the fabric of our my life. The greatest people on earth, of course, obviously. But I'm Puerto Rican, but let me not go into all of that. Thank you, everybody. This thing with the Social Security. So I'm 57 years old, and then I live in Staten Island with my family here. And, not to be rude or cross with y'all or anything, but God forbid I have to rely on Social Security. Like, I hope not, but other people do, and, that's sad to me, and that sucks. But, I'm trying, and I haven't reached the top either. I don't even own the house that I live in, but one day I will, I promise. But I just love everything y'all said, and I love the way that y'all care. The biggest thing with me is that it's the fraud that I don't like. If I don't know if y'all know this or not, but it's like an objective. Like all these young guys who get out of the military and the Navy, I'm not naming names, it's like a game. They go and apply for disability. They say they have PTSD from slicing potatoes, and they get this disability. Meantime, my wife, who has rheumatoid arthritis, got this one after we had our first baby. Never got it. She applied, and the guy said, if you can move your tongue, you can get it. Listen, I'm not going to go into all of that. That's not the point. Listen, I'm a strong guy. I'm a smart guy. I've worked very hard all my life. I have a great city job right now. I can take care of my family, thank God. But anyway, that's it. Let me just shut up. Whatever.
Do you have a question? I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to know if you had a question because we have a queue of other people that have questions.
Well, my question is okay, with the Social Security thing, I love that thing what you said about city workers. That was great. So my question is, what are you going to do about what I just said, like discussing that? And also, you said something about the caregivers thing, right? That's not the same thing as like the people who are on Medicaid who take care of them and they get a fee or whatever. What if it's just somebody who worked hard all their life and then they're getting Social Security, but you're taking care of them? But how's that?
Just to back up, I think the question that came through to me was about fraud and people scamming the system. So, Congressmember, could you talk about elder abuse and fraud related to that piece that he mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this administration has made it a priority to crack down on fraud. And sadly, there is a lot of fraud within the Medicaid system and other programs as well. And that is part of what we did was to make sure that we were cracking down on those fraudulent claims, so that way it is the money's there and available for the people who truly need it and earned it. And so we're working on that. I mean, that was one of the biggest debates. And you hear, sadly, those who oppose cracking down on fraud attacking us as individuals wanting to cut benefits. That can't be further from the case. What we're trying to do is ensure that these critical tax dollars that are meant for people who are either disabled or elderly, the people who have paid into these programs, that the money is there for them. And if we don't crack down on fraud, then we will see these programs drained. And that is why we have this issue of potential insolvency, and we're going to, as early as 2033. So that is the whole reason why we did what we did in putting in parameters to make sure, particularly on the Medicaid front, individuals who are able-bodied, right, both physically and mentally have no disabilities, and are of working age, that they have to work, and that, I think, is something that is supported by 80% of Americans across this country, and I think that that's a good first step in cracking down the fraud. You're also seeing the Department of Justice and our Attorney General really starting to prosecute the fraudsters, right? We're hearing all the time about cases in New York where people were bilking these programs, and they are putting in fraudulent claims and excessive payments, and they're being charged and they're being prosecuted. And that's the main thing, is that we have a justice system that is working, that is holding these people accountable and prosecuting them, because there's roughly, it was estimated that if we took no action, it would be nearly $1 trillion over the next 10 years that could be wasted in fraudulent claims. So I'm proud of the work we've done to try to safeguard the program, again, making sure it's there for our most vulnerable for the future.
That's great. Thank you so much for your work on that.
And if I could there was a second part to that question about the tax credit, the caregivers. This is different. This is not a salary, like the Medicaid program that he was mentioning is a people receiving a salary to caregive. This is a tax credit for working families, which means you're out, you're working, you're also being a caregiver. You get a tax credit, right, on your return to help you cover the expenses of providing that care to a loved one. So it is strictly for working families, to help them have more money to care for a loved one who is home and that they may be caring for example, part-time. And so I think that that's an important distinction.
Absolutely. I think, believe it or not, this has been such an active conversation with so much going on that I think that we're actually starting to run out of time. I feel so badly to say that because I know we had other people in the queue who wanted to ask questions. So I just want to make sure that if anybody has any more questions, put them in right now, and if we can, we'll try to squeeze you in. But I think we're just about running out of time, and so I really wanted to ask our very special guest, Representative Nicole Malliotakis, as we're nearing the end of our call, would you like to do any more follow-up or share any more information that I know will be vital to our audience?
Well, I think one of the things I want to also look at is the issue of IRMA, and I think a lot of seniors would be familiar with this term. This is IRMA is an extra surcharge that Medicare beneficiaries with a higher yearly income may pay toward premiums. It increases your premium. So, but the thing is, if you have a one-time windfall, for example, a sale of your home, or perhaps you had some type of particular like windfall for that year, I don't want your Medicare premiums to increase as a result of that one-time event. And so I think that's something that we as Congress needs to look at, and I've been doing extensive research on this issue, and I'd love to hear more from you if you have experienced this type of issue. So please contact my office. But an example would be like if you sold your house and received an inheritance windfall, your Medicare premium would increase for 2 subsequent years because of that, even though it's not money that you're expecting on an annual basis, right? And so if a senior sells their home because they're going to move to, let's say, Florida, which we don't want to see you leave, we want to see you stay, which is why I fight so hard with the city and the state to try to keep, New York affordable. Although, they do their own thing. I think that you shouldn't have that reflected in your premiums. And my parents have experienced this. I have friends that have experienced this, and I think it's a terrible thing. And we have to figure out a way here to address that so that way you're not hit with this increased premium following a one-time event.
Thank you.
And I would love to work with the AARP on that. So if the AARP has any ideas on how we can address that, I'd love to hear it. But really more, I'm collecting examples from constituents. So if you've had this happen to you, please reach out to us so we can log that.
That would be great. Okay, so I'm going to go back to one more question. We got Adam from Staten Island. So Adam from Staten Island, would you like to ask your question, please?
Hi, thank you. I want to thank you for the great conversation. I'm really excited about that tax credit, but just wanted to ask about something frustrating that happened to me recently. I had trouble getting somebody on the phone at Social Security. I called and waited, and then finally got an appointment. Took forever at the local office, and the wait times at the local office were really tough. It took a long time. I'm just wondering, what can be done about Social Security wait times?
Well, I appreciate that question. When did you call? I'm curious when this happened. I guess he was muted, so I wasn't able to get the answer.
No,
but that's fine.
I'm
I just want to say because we've had a lot of success in actually reducing the in-office wait times, they're down about 27% right now from the beginning of this year. The new administration has really focused its resources in the Social Security Administration to improve customer service. So last year you may have been waiting 30 minutes or so. Now it's about 20 minutes or so. And visitors who have a scheduled appointment, they only wait about 6 minutes on average to receive their assistance. And so this is a big, big improvement over what was done under the previous administration. And also, I should say, under the previous administration, the My Social Security website had scheduled downtime of 29 hours a week, which left Americans without instant access to their benefit information. As a result, working with the new commissioner, Americans now have 24/7 access to their Social Security information and benefits online. So I urge people to visit ssa.gov, where they can access their benefits online 24/7 now. And again, if you do have trouble though with Social Security, I want to reinforce that we are here to help you. Again, we saw 3,500 different cases for constituents through having trouble with all sorts of different agencies, not just Social Security, but on the Social Security front, we were able to get $7 million back. I'm sorry, $1.8 million back to constituents that they had been owed and they'd had trouble getting, okay, for various reasons, whether it was paperwork or they thought that they were deceased and they took them off. There's just clerical errors that happen, unfortunately, which is another thing we're stressing with the administration is how do we modernize the system using technology. And this particular commissioner we have now comes from, the world of financial technology. And so I think he's going to be really good in modernizing some of the the things that you don't see in the background, the programs that are working, to make this more easy and user-friendly, making the website more user-friendly and all of that. But if you are having difficulty, you have not been able to resolve an issue with Social Security, please call my office, and I'll give those numbers for you one last time. The Staten Island office is 718-568-2870. The Brooklyn office is 718-306-1620. 718-306-1620. Now, if you're going to the Social Security office in person, we have 2 offices on Staten Island and 1 in Brooklyn in my district. Please make an appointment. As I said, the wait time would only be 6 minutes on average if you make your appointment ahead of time. Even if you show up that day, I know for sure the Staten Island office will try to accommodate the person as best as possible, and usually they do that same day, but you don't want to do that. You really want to make an appointment ahead of time so it's easy and convenient. You can get there, and it's not like the DMV where you got to pull a number and then sit there for hours, okay? That's a state agency, and they have their own problems. But on the federal level, we're trying to do whatever we can to ease the experience for you and make it as convenient as possible.
Thank you so much. This has been so much great information, and I really want to thank Representative Malliotakis for all of her work on behalf of older Americans. And so I do want to give an opportunity to Elisa Walker, who's AARP Government Affairs Director. Are there any other comments that you would like to make, Elisa?
Thanks, Beth. I just want to let people know about a handy resource that you can use if you have any further questions on Social Security, and that is our website at aarp.org/Social Security. And it's got pretty much anything you'd want to know on Social Security in one place, everything from basic facts to tips and tricks. There's an Ask the Expert section. We even have a Social Security for Dummies book that you can order there. So again, that's aarp.org/Social Security. And then I really just want to thank everyone for being on to share their questions and comments about Social Security. We'd love to hear from you on this. And thank you very much to Representative Malliotakis for her leadership and her partnership in really achieving some tangible results for seniors when it comes to Social Security. So, Congresswoman, we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate AARP's partnership, and I want to say that when we tried to push through this bonus deduction for seniors to make sure people receive their Social Security tax back when they do their taxes in 2026 for 2025, AARP was there with me at the senior centers rallying for this legislation. And so I really appreciate AARP supporting my bill and all the other bills I've been working on relating to caregivers and Social Security, because with their partnership, we've been able to get a lot of momentum. We've got a lot of good things done this year, and I look forward to building on this success next year. And I appreciate everyone. I wish everyone a great holiday, and I look forward to seeing you when I'm back in the district.
Thank you so much. Representative, we couldn't agree with you more. Had great success, and we're looking forward to more great success with you. And yes, we're happy to come out and meet you at senior centers in your district anytime. It was great talking to your constituents and hearing how they felt about things and having you there with us. So thank you so much. So once again, AARP New York thanks both the representative and Elisa Walker for their time with us today. To learn more about AARP's efforts to fight for your Social Security and how you can get involved, please go to aarp.org/you earned it, because we did, folks. We've been working for a long time, and you earned it. So back to the site again, it's aarp.org/you earned it. To learn more about our efforts to support family caregivers, you can also go to aarp.org/caregiving, aarp.org/caregiving. To the AARP members who have joined us on the phone, thank you for participating in this discussion on Social Security and family caregiver. We apologize if we were not able to answer your question today. You can also obtain valuable information through AARP's publications on our website at aarp.org or by calling 1-888-687-2277. I'll say that again, 1-888-687-2277. Thank you so much, and again, happy holidays to everyone. Bye-bye.